Charlie, I tried my hand at bombing in a MiG-21 yesterday, and bloody hell, my bombs weren't even close.
Yeah, it's quite hard, especially in the night, yeah, when you can't see anything.
I wonder how do they do it in the Air Force?
Viper, I might just know the man who might be able to tell us more about MiG-21 and its capabilities.
I made contact with these aeroplanes ridiculous amount of distance away. Enemies, they came and bounced us. I shot down two of them. And we were supposed to deliver a bomb at 50 meters. And I delivered that bomb on the pin.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the very first episode of The Merge, we thought it would be fitting to start the show with the first supersonic jet in India. And to tell us more about it, we have with us today Group Captain MJ Augustine Vinod. Group Captain MJ Augustine Vinod was commissioned into the fighter stream of the Indian Air Force on 13 June 1992 and he retired in 2019. He has flown MiG-21s, Mirage 2000s, Kiran's HPT-32 and has over 3,500 flight hours. During his service of over 25 years, he has held various appointments which include commanding the MiG-21 Type 77 Operational Conversion Unit and stints with intelligence and with the Garud Commandos. He is a graduate of College of Air Warfare as well as the Defence Services Staff College course at Wellington. He is also an alumnus of the College of Defence Management. For his meritorious service to the nation, he was awarded Vishisht Seva Medal by the President of India. He is a trained paratrooper, skydiver, a scuba dive master, and a deep sea rescue diver. It actually seems like there's nothing he cannot do. And going off the script for a bit, let me tell you guys that this is the short version of his introduction. I've had a lot more to go on, but let's ask the man himself. Welcome to the Merge, sir. Such an honor for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me over.
Our pleasure, sir. We keep pestering you on and off to get you on the show. This is our first episode, and there's no one better that we could start off with. So, what are you up to these days, sir?
Oh, you'll not believe it. These days, I've got two kayaks. One is a touring kayak, which goes deep into the sea and goes a couple of 100 kilometers comfortably. So I got one imported, and I'm into touring that I go into the sea. So I follow the backwaters, go into the sea, and come back. So that is one. Second, I'm also exploring solo diving in my kayak. As in, it's a twin kayak. So in the front, I take my diving equipment and go into the sea, dive, come back, put the gear back into the kayak, and come back. So that is a new method that I'm looking to kill myself, and yeah, here I am alive. And also trying my hand on a little bit on masonry and cooking. Yeah, that's it.
I've realized. That every time I speak to you, I feel bad about what I'm doing with my life, and I'm like quite young, 30ish.
Age is just a number.
All right, so let's get into flying. So, sir, which was the first aircraft that you flew?
Oh, the first thing, there's an interesting story. I joined Air Force in 1988, and I joined the Air Force as a telephonist and a radio telephony operator. Not many people know this. Yeah. So from there, I rose to wherever I rose to. But in '88, there was an HT2 which was kept as a display in Communication and Technical Institute in a place called Jalahalli in Bangalore. So, I wanted to. I've never been into an aeroplane, and as a child, I've had dreams of doing aerobatics and stuff. So I wanted to get into an aeroplane. So at middle of the night, I think 2ish in the night, I slid open the canopy, which was it was stuck, as in because of, I think, rust or something. So I got into the rear seat and Oh, that was my first experience at 2:30 in the night in the rear cockpit of an HT2. But of course, it was a display airplane. But first flight was, I don't know how many people these days have that opportunity. First flight of mine was a flight in which I took off and landed by myself in a Kiran. So that was my first flight ever. Yeah, flying came. And thank God for that. And flying came naturally to me.
Sir, everything comes naturally to you.
No, as in in the first flight itself, I did a couple of aerobatics, and I could follow what the aeroplane is doing, which as an instructor, I realized, I mean, later in life that not many people are comfortable in their first couple of flights. I was, so that I think the credit goes to the creator, because I don't think I did anything extra to get that kind of coolness in the cockpit.
So your first flight must be tandem, dono, sir?
Side by side. Kiran is side by side.
Kiran is side by side, okay. And how was your first solo, sir?
First solo, I remember the date still, 10th September 1991.
Okay, sir.
And it was a left-hand circuit. Sorry, no, it was a right-hand circuit. So the trainee sits on the left, and the instructor in Kiran sits on the right-hand seat. No, it's a side-by-side seat, isn't it?
Right, sir.
So when you're on the downwind, your runway is to your right. So I took off normally, turned right, and rolled out. And now I look to the runway. And normally you're used to seeing your instructor, and then you have to lean forward when you're abeam the landing dumbbell. That is when you time out for 45 seconds. And I looked to the right, and the seat was empty. I said, "What the hell?" And I'm all by myself. So yeah, it was because the first solo is a circuit solo, in the sense you don't go out. You take off, you do a couple of circuits and land. So first solo is just a couple of doing a circuit flying and landing. So first time I looked to the right and the instructor was missing. It was a mixed feeling, I can say. Happy to be in the air alone, and little afraid because the first time I flew with nobody on controls.
Right, sir.
So as far as AFA is concerned, it was since the skill set was there, I went for an early solo check. That means they thought that you don't need to do the complete prescribed number of sorties. You can do something, you can manage to do less and still go solo, things like that. That happened. And, people who do well and on the top of the merit, they get to, those days, you got to go to a better aircraft. So I went to Mirage 2000. And very few in our time went to ASFs. Those days, ASFs were either MiG-21 2 squadrons. The third one came up later. And Mirage 2000 2 squadrons. So in a particular batch, maybe 5 to 7 went to ASFs, and rest of them went to Type 96 or MiG-21, Type 75. And Bison came up, of course, much later. So that is the deal. So the people of my seniority who went to Mirage 2000, they had to be good at psychomotor skills, flying, situational awareness, being a team man, fighting together. I mean, you guys are fighting together. You realize how important it is to fight together.
Right, sir.
So all that counts to where you end up in career, where you end up in flying career. I mean, these are two different things again. Flying career is different, and career as a military man is different. So, yeah, for both, the skill set is that comes in handy. I mean, I would put it that way.
All right, sir. So, we'll rewind just a bit, sir. Going from Kiran's to Mirage, suddenly, you have a subsonic trainer jet, and then you suddenly have
No,
beast
I didn't go
with reheat?
Kiran to Mirage. I went to Kiran to MiG-21.
Okay.
That was difficult actually. And the two Type 70 is the older version, the Type 77. The Type 77 as a navigational aid only had ADF. I mean, you know it.
Right, sir.
So NDB on the ground and ADF in the air. Only that was the navigational equipment. Otherwise, you had to completely rely on your map reading technique and that too traveling at 850 kilometers an hour, 14 kilometers a minute at low level was something very, very challenging. And my first posting after my training, a completion of my MOF2 was Badmer. So, Uttarlai. So, there, if you didn't see any feature, that means you're on track. So, that way, yeah. So, I went to MiG-21 first and thoroughly enjoyed my stay at MiG-21s. And then I went to Mirage.
Okay. What do you think the Russian designed the MiG-21 to do, sir?
I'm sure you've read about it. It was, I mean, I know the complete history of MiG-21, how it came about and to where it came about. MiG-21, the original MiG-21 was a fallout of MiG-17 for MiG-19 aeroplanes, which had a swept back wing, all right, but was not a delta. So it had something called flexure. I mean, the wing used to flex at high G and high G maneuvers. So when that happens, what happens is the tip angle of attack increases. I'm not going into the aerodynamics part of it. And the aeroplane sometimes can depart because of the flexure. It's called washout due to flexure. So when the wing flexes up a little, the wingtip angle of attack increases more than the wing root angle of attack. So you could have a uneven pitch and roll, unintentional in the sense you've not given any control inputs. So at high G, it was an issue with both MiG-17 and MiG-19. The MiG-21 was a version which was, I mean, more of a competition version for a Su-7. So the Sukhoi Design Bureau were working on Su-7s and Sukhoi class of aircraft. Even in Russia, there were two competitive, I wouldn't say companies because it was all state-owned, but two competition happening parallelly. Who comes out with a better aeroplane? So the Migeon Gruevich Bureau was one, and they were competing with another. So it's like two HALs. You understand?
Right, sir.
So the other one was the Sukhoi Design Bureau. So Sukhoi Design Bureau came up with Su-7. So these people were also trying to come out with a design like that, which could climb faster. And the main aim was to take down the U-2. U-2 used to fly at certain altitude where these missiles or fighter aeroplanes couldn't reach. You remember Gary Paz was shot down.
Yes, sir.
But if you read Gary Paz also, he was shot down because he didn't reach the particular height at a given distance. He had engine failure. Anyway, that's not the point. The MiG-21, to increase the strength of the wing, what they did is at the root, they increased the root chord length so that there is a little bit of rigidity to the wing. But when they did that is the time they realized how good is a delta wing platform. It behaved almost like in terms of lift, it gave you quite a good amount of lift. In terms of internal wing area where you could put fuel, you could put a lot of fuel. You had a large area for flaps. You had a large area for ailerons. You could reduce the wingspan because your wing area increased. So delta wing was more like a accidental design, I would say, which pushed the aeroplane's envelope even further in terms of the G's it can pull, the altitude it can climb to, the rate of climb. Everything got pushed in its favor because wing area increased, the wingspan reduced, and the wing internal area increased, so you could put more fuel. So endurance increased, the range increased. So all put together, MiG-21 was an accidental design, but a very wonderful design. And the West followed suit. If you notice, at the same time, Even UK came up with the Lightning and starfighters at short, stubby wings. The US came up with starfighters and the Thunder Chiefs, those Thunder designs. So all these are contemporary designs of that time. This is that post-World War, post-Korean War era. So that is when all this is happening. So of all these, one who came out as a winner was MiG-21 because it served so many countries and it still is serving us here in India. So many variants of MiG-21s were flown. So things got really good for this particular aircraft as far as its its usability is concerned. You understanding? So you will not buy something if you think it is not good, isn't it?
Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. So Su-7s came and Su-7s got phased out even before I came into the service. MiG-27s came, MiG-23s came and got phased out, and they came much later. In fact, I was already in the Air Force when the last of the MiG-21s got commissioned, and even before I left, the last of the MiG-21s got decommissioned also. So I've seen the entire lifespan of MiG-21, whereas MiG-27s, whereas MiG-21s were there before me, and MiG-21s are still there after me. 31 years I spent. So it's a design which will go down in the annals of history of aviation as one of the best designs and the best aeroplanes to ever to be produced. In fact, I don't know how many people know since it flew in many countries.
Sir.
We in India call it the Ferrari of fighters. Especially the type 77, we used to call it the Ferrari of fighters. Soviet Union used to call it as, if I remember correctly, something called Balaika or something.
The triangular Russian musical instrument,
Yeah.
sir.
And Polish used to call it the pencil, whatever was the name of Polish pencil. It's like a pencil with a small stubby wings.
We call it the pocket rocket, sir.
Yeah. The Vietnamese call it the swallow because it looks like a swallow in a dive.
Right,
Bird
sir.
swallow. So whenever I see a MiG-21 now,
Sir.
My heart skips a beat as if you see your. You come across your first girlfriend.
I've heard this from a lot of people, sir. Like the first operational jet that they fly is like considered to be their first love, and there's always like this romance that's there.
No, but I flew jets throughout. The first operational jet I flew was a Kiran.
Right, sir.
And I have lots of hours on Kiran, not as much as MiG-21, but yeah,
Sir.
I have about 1,200 plus hours on Kiran. I've instructed a lot, but between Kiran and MiG-21, absolutely no comparison.
Right, sir. So, so the Russians, you said, sir, made it to you to shoot down, say, an a U-2, snap up launch, whatever. What role did the Indian Air Force use it for, sir? Was there a particular role that it excelled in, say, air to ground or air to air?
Both. So it was, like I said, when I joined, after the MiG operational flying training unit, that MOF2 training, the top 2 or 3 went to MiG-21 Type 75.
Right, sir.
Type 75 that time had both, the R-16 missiles as well as Matra Magic. And Type 75 were the air defense fighters.
Was that the BIS variant, sir?
BIS variant. So they were the air defense fighters. So from MOF2, top 3 or 4, sometimes top 2, went to Type 75 because from Type 75 only you could go to Mirage 2000 or a MiG-29. And the other guys went to Type 96, which is a MiG-21 Type 96. I don't know what was the Indian name
It's
for it.
called
Some
probably
some
FL or
share.
something.
No,
Okay,
no,
sir.
no. FL was the Ferrari. I mean, it had the highest climb rate and lowest wing loading and all that. So, but it didn't have a good radar. I mean, it had a radar. It didn't have a
Sir.
very good radar. So by the time I came, I mean, I passed out Type 77s were being used as a trainer aeroplane. Understood.
Right.
But the BIS were the frontline air defense fighters, and Type 96 was the frontline air to ground, that is strike fighters. So MiG-21, we had two versions, both for strike role as well as for the air defense role.
Sir. So you're saying, sir, that it was competent in like both air to ground
Both
as well
roles.
as air to air.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a true first multi-role aeroplane.
So, sir, getting into the nitty-gritty of it, shall we discuss some features like in detail? Let's start with the instantaneous turn rate.
So I have I answered this in one of my interviews with Ashkit as well. The instantaneous turn rate is an important function for any aeroplane, not only MiG-21 for any aeroplane, but it is all. There is another factor which is an important factor, which, if I were to give an analogy, in 100 meters race, there are three aspects to 100 meters race. Yes, you're familiar with 100 meters race.
I am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there are three major aspects to 100 meters race. One, what is the first and the most important one?
The start.
Start, exactly, the getting off the block.
Right, sir.
So to get off the block in a fighter is actually what? Is the
Yeah.
roll rate.
Okay, sir.
You have to get to 75 degrees or 77 degrees or 80 degrees angle of bank first before you pull on the stick.
Sir.
Yes?
Absolutely,
The
sir.
roll rate of a MiG-21 at certain speeds can be as much as 400 degrees per second. Yeah, I'm not joking. 360 plus another 40, it can go in 1 second.
Sir.
As opposed to most modern fighters today, they reach at best about 90.
Sir. Sir.
So who's first off the block? MiG-21. Now, let's look at the next question. Next question is, when do you need an instantaneous turn rate? A, to evade an enemy missile, you saw the flashlight and you want to turn into the missile, you want to rip into the missile. B, there's someone behind your tail and you just want to shake them off quickly. So your instantaneous turn rate is important only during the first 40, 50, 60 degrees of the turn, which MiG-21 can match any fighter in the world, including its TOW, the roll rate and the instantaneous turn rate, both put together. But sustained is a problem. Sustained is a function of drag and thrust. Since it's a high delta design, the drag is quite high beyond a certain angle of attack. So then what happens is the thrust becomes inadequate. But since it's a small stubby wing, MiG-21 does not fight horizontally like a Hunter or a high lift aeroplanes.
Like
Like
Tejas.
Tornado.
Right, sir.
It does not fly. It flies vertical. Now in vertical, my instantaneous turn rate is my roll rate. Theoretically, in near vertical, I can be facing anyone and face the other side at the rate at which I roll. when I'm vertically up. You're understanding the mathematics.
I am, sir.
Now translate that from vertical to any other angle.
Right, sir. Now that will
So
require that instantaneous turn rate to translate that.
absolutely, you understood what I'm saying. So it is a
I
function
got
of
it,
a
sir.
roll rate, your pitch angle. So it is a very technical answer, but you have to really imagine this answer. So it is a function of your pitch, your roll rate, and your yaw rate or the turn rate.
All right, sir.
I hope I made myself clear.
Absolutely, sir. Crystal.
Yeah.
And what about, sir, acceleration? If we talk about acceleration, because I remember seeing that extra power reserve switch that's there, and when you light it up, I've heard that it sometimes, in some cases, it left the missile behind as well.
No, not missile behind. Missile, of course, goes very fast. But the EPR, it is called the emergency power reserve. Or we also used to call it the secondary heat. Secondary heat is a combat reheat which you don't use on day-to-day flying. But you check it once in a while. I mean, once in a while you have to see it's functioning or not, isn't it?
Right, sir.
So, I mean, I have recalled one incident in one of my interviews. So, in that particular sortie, I was supposed to, Flight commander asked me, or the engineer asked me to check it. He said, sir, आज के sortie में आपको EPR check करना है. And I was going for a performance run. I was a pilot officer that time. I was going for a performance run with a Mirage 2000. Little did I know later on I will go to the same aeroplane. In fact, the same squadron.
Right,
anyway, so he was supposed to demonstrate how good is the acceleration of a Mirage 2000 to me. So we both start off at the same speed, and we both engage reheat.
Sir.
And after, and we call. I think we start from slightly lower speed, and both of us reach a particular speed. Is the time we call out our speed and see how far ahead he is pulled away from you. You're supposed to see that. You understood what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes,
so
sir.
it was a demonstration kind of a thing to a MiG-21 pilot to say Mirage 2000 is superior in acceleration because of its capability, because it's a modern aircraft.
Right, sir.
Higher thrust and lower drag, etc., etc. So when we started off, I cheated a little. I was slightly above the guy who was on the other side in Mirage 2000. And when do you get the least amount of drag when the angle of attack is 0, isn't it?
Right, sir. Absolutely, sir.
And I was supposed to check the secondary heat as well. So as we engaged reheat, I got into a lower angle of attack, and secondary heat, I was supposed to check it anyway. So I sort of matched his acceleration. Maybe I was slightly behind, but I was not like way far behind. I matched his acceleration. So MiG-21 in combat situation can give you good acceleration as well. There is no doubt.
Okay,
again, it depends on the configuration as well. If you're carrying 2 drop tanks, 3 drop tanks, of course it won't not accelerate.
Drag will be absolutely, sir.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll move on to regular questions now. Before 80s, or actually before 70s or such, we had an air force that had aircrafts like Mr. Orangans and Hunters, which did not have air-to-air radar. How would you rate the radar on MiG-21? At least the variants that you flew.
MiG-21 again. MiG-21 is one aeroplane which the number of versions that it has and the number of equipment that it has. I can keep talking about it till cows come home.
Let's talk about, sir, Type 77 or something.
So, no, Type 77 for its time, Type 77 had the best radar, It had Farza L, or it is called the locator radar. Before that, now this is Second World War got over in 47, 45, and till 46, 47, the aftermaths were being felt, and countries were being formed and reappropriating. So the entire effect got over by 47 till Labour Party came into power.
Right, sir.
Similar thing was happening in Russia because Stalin still was trying to rebuild the country, and from 47 onwards, actually, a little bit of progress started anywhere in the world. So MiG-21, just before that, just 3 years before 4 years before MiG-21, MiG-21's design was being thought of.
Sir.
The radar that aeroplanes had did not have a locator, in the sense it could only look in front, and it could not it could not pan or it could not tilt.
Slew side to side, I think, sir.
And up and down, it could not do that. So this was the first radar which could go not only left, right, up, down as well. So it used to do an 8 pattern, like an 8. So it used to go up, turn left, come down, turn right again. And in this turn, it could locate aeroplane, because now you are triangulating as well. So the first radar to have a locator radar was the FL. Even till I flew the last mission, the FL radar was working the way it is supposed to work. I have had a lock on. On the person ahead of me. Even in this, below a certain height, it doesn't work. Manufacturer says it doesn't work. But even up to circuit altitude, I had a lock on somebody. So now you could declutter the ground clutter. So for its time, it was way far ahead. Then came the Almaz radar of Type 75.
Yes,
Almaz. You can Google that. Almaz.
The one that required alcohol for cooling.
Even FL radar required alcohol for cooling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have heard a couple of interesting stories where Russians took a couple of swigs out when it got a little
people
chilly.
have died.
Oh, really, sir?
No, because it is nearly 100% alcohol.
Proof.
So you have to,
right, sir.
You have to mix it, I think. But by the time I came into the FOs, we were using methanol, I think. And methanol, you can't consume. It's poison. So Indian FOs में ऐसा कोई issue नहीं था, but Russian FOs, I have heard stories where people used to drink this particular alcohol. सुना है ये. So Almaz radar, you will not believe it, had a data link.
Sir.
The controller could tell the pilot where to go, what to look through a data link.
That Lazur, sir?
Lazur, exactly. Lazur data link was there in the late 50s, early 60s, imagine. So as far as technology is concerned, it's a different matter due to whatever reason. Russia broke up and USSR broke up. But as far as technology is concerned, Russians were, as good or if not ahead in certain areas as compared to West. Radar is one of them. And the Bison has Copio. Copio has superb functions. So all kinds of radars are there. It had a laser range finder. You could, using the radar, you could do air-to-ground work. You could range using the radar, and using the radar, you could drop bombs.
Right, sir. That KH-66 Groms and all, I suppose.
Even normal rockets, guns, for even rockets and guns, you can use the radar ranging and get your sight. The sight used to listen to the radar ranging and accordingly give you the angular gravity drop for the weapon delivery.
I remember, I not remember, I mean, I think, sir, MiG-21 had that KH-66 Grom, that beam riding.
Yeah. Let me tell you something else, which was the biggest enigma. We have something called an Agada, AGED.
Sir.
It is like the artificial horizon, which doesn't topple. And West was going bonkers. How are they able to do it? Because you can't have a non-toppling gyro. Gyro is a physical equipment. I mean, it works at a gyro principle. So there is a little bit of as it is at 90 degrees, mathematically it cannot function because gyroscopic force at 90 degrees is infinite. So at 75, the best of the gyroscopes of West at 75 degrees used to topple. But this one was a non-toppling artificial horizon. So it had a gyro in gyro. So it had something called a follow-up frame. FUF we used to call it, follow-up frame. So this follow-up frame used to keep the entire gyroscope within 60 degrees in all three axes. So that is how it didn't topple. So MiG-21 had a lot of enigma, which West was really couldn't fathom how Russians are doing it and achieving such great results.
Yeah, I think, sir, even those floating flaps were there, I think, that used to sink in. Depending.
With speed, the flap used to retract automatically.
And that nose that was automatically retractable nose that was there, so that used to adjust according to the air that was required.
Yeah. So actually, it is not I mean, I've written that in my interview as well. It is the nose cone is actually a bicone. There are two cones, and the aim is to keep the shock wave on the lip so that you get maximum shock pressure recovery. So that is the function of the cone. Cone functions almost like a compressor. Reducing the work of a compressor. Cone does max amount of compressing and delivers the compressed or pre-compressed air to the engine. At some cases, the nose compression used to be much more than required. So we have if you carefully look at MiG-21 from the nose,
Sir.
You have a small little box. It was, I mean, sometimes a nose cone can produce so much compression. The engine was not able to handle so much of compressed air. So it used to dump that compressed air. It was to prevent some kind of a stall. So it used to automatically open and dump that compressed air. So a lot of technological advancement MiG-21 has, which till, if you remember that Operation Diamond, where Mossad
made that guy defect from
got this Munir, Assyrian Air Force. No, he defected with the MiG-21. I remember what was his name? Avi Ben Nun. One of their test pilots flew it. Israeli, very famous test pilots flew it, and he landed, switched off the engine and glided and landed a MiG-21 on purpose. So till that time, West got hold of this Munir's MiG-21. They did not know many things about MiG-21, and you got $1 million for it, Munir. Yeah.
Well, he had a nice life, sir.
After that.
After that, at least, yes. We don't know what happened to his family or what, but at least he had a nice life.
Correct.
So now you've flown MiG-21 quite a lot, sir. So what were the weapons that you've been able to fire from the MiG-21?
All that MiG-21 carried, from missiles, guns, rockets, S-24s, bombs, all calibers of bombs, everything that MiG-21 carried, I fired. I mean, there's nothing in MiG-21 I didn't do.
Have you flown the Bison as well, sir?
No, I didn't fly Bison because at 5.5 years of service, when I came to Mirage 2000, Bison was still on the drawing board.
Okay, sir. So, how many hours do you have, sir, in MiG-21?
MiG-21, to a MiG-21 pilot, if you ask him hours, it is of not much consequence because the flying time is less. I have flown as less as 11 minutes. It doesn't, I mean, average MiG-21 sortie is like 20 to 25 minutes. That's it.
Right, sir.
So I have close to 5,000 sorties on MiG-21.
Oh, 5,000 sorties. My God, sir.
Yeah.
My God.
That's quite a bit.
Absolutely.
In anybody's life.
5,000 times, sir, you're taking off. 5,000 times you're coming to land. So
and alive.
and like, sir, both are equal, landings as well as takeoffs.
No, I had one accident.
Okay, tell us about it, sir.
5th of March 1995. I was fully laden, as in lots of full complements of guns, and I was going for a air to ground mission. On takeoff roll, my engine burst. So, yeah, I force landed and the aeroplane was written off. I got burnt as well. I mean, I got burnt. My face got burnt. Yeah, I was very lucky to be alive.
Any landing that you can walk away from, sir, is a good landing. So we won't.
Yeah, that is true.
We won't pester you much with it, sir.
No, and if the aeroplane is usable after that, it is great.
It is that's like the added perk, sir.
True.
Any other memorable mission that you might have on the MiG-21, sir?
Every mission. I have recalled one in that interview. In fact, the other day, that time my CEO, Wing Commander Shankar Mani, now is he retired as Air Vice Marshal Shankar Mani, and we are now working together also. We were at his house remembering this mission. I was a ground standby. I was not even slated to fly. And after the aeroplanes took off, so for an important mission, you have to stand by also aeroplane and a pilot with the same configuration, taxis out. And he has to learn about everybody because he can slot in at any position if someone falls out at after taxi also you can have unserviceabilities, isn't it? So if you don't take off for a mission, then it can't be a 3 aircraft mission because it is an important mission. So I was a ground standby. So all 4 took off and I was like going back. At the time I got a call from CEO. So best he line up and take off. So I took off. My undercarriage is not going up. So he took off and his undercarriage is not going up. So I slotted. I made contact with these aeroplanes ridiculous amount of distance away and caught up with them. And some other people were mocking as enemies. They came and bounced us. I shot down 2 of them. And we were supposed to deliver a bomb at 50 meters. And I delivered that bomb on the pin.
Oh my God.
So, and all this I did when I had some 2 years of service.
The instructor must be like, what the?
True. That was one memorable mission. There's one which I did night in the Thar Desert. Beyond Jaisalmer, there is nothing actually. Absolutely nothing. It is like dark, pitch dark. So mission there at night is really challenging, especially when the weather is bad. So ऊपर भी light नहीं है, नीचे भी light नहीं है. So it's like a black bowl that you're going into, pitch dark black bowl, and you're at 100 150 meters with no reference other than your radio altimeter and miles and miles of desert. That is memorable. Other missions were there was one mission again. I was a single attacker, and the other two were MiG-29s. So sort of fought well with them that day. Shot down both of them that day.
Oh my God, sir.
So that I remember very well. There was another one in which we fought against again a pair of Mirage 2000. We were a pair of us. Just because of our size and in the frontal quarters, you can't pick up a MiG-21 easily. It's like an arrowhead. So there is a saying: if you see a MiG-21, that means you're already dead.
I think that's what happened on 27th of Feb as well, sir.
Absolutely. If you see a MiG-21 approaching you, that means you're already dead and you are in Elysium.
So, sir, what all airframes you've done DACT with?
Oh, DACT, I've done both sides. I mean, MiG-21, I've done DACT. You do only with an ASF. So from a MiG-21, I've done DACT with Mirage 2000, MiG-29, and from Mirage 2000, I've done DACT with everybody. MiG-27, MiG-21.
I've heard. I remember you telling me once that you've done it with Tornadoes also, sir.
That was on a MiG-21. Was not Tornadoes. Eurofighters.
Eurofighters. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So Eurofighter or any modern aeroplane is computer controlled, So below a certain speed or beyond a certain angle of attack, the computer doesn't allow you. It slowly takes away your pilot's authority to zero when the safety kicks in.
Never about to depart or something, probably.
Not about to depart, well before that. So at a certain speed, say 100 odd knots, even if you move the stick however you want to move, nothing happens to the control surface because aeroplane has decided that you are an idiot and you don't need to be given control.
Right, sir.
MiG-21 is not like that. MiG-21 is completely a manual aeroplane. So depending on your scale, man's machine. So depending on your scale, you can fly it to much lower speed. So though MiG-21 is designed for a high-speed combat and high-speed flight, at extremely low speeds, nobody can match this aeroplane. Nobody. So he was going, overshooting me and coming in front of me like every time. So his CO was there. It was a trainer, twin-seater. The station commander was there. In fact, there is a picture of me and that station commander on the web. You can see. He came back. He came down. He was the one who first test flew the Eurofighter. He was a test pilot. So I think he was a flight lieutenant or something when he test flew this Eurofighter. So he had the first badge or the patch. He landed and gave me the patch. He said, so many people, Augustine, were after this patch and I didn't give it to them. And looking at the way you handled MiG-21, I think you deserve it more than any of these guys.
Sir, a couple of days ago, we lost a MiG-21 to a crash, I think, somewhere in Rajasthan.
No, this is a good question. I get asked this question many times. Let me give you a very simple example. Why don't you hear such thing, say about Su-30 or Rafale or MiG-29? Why don't you keep hearing about them? Because MiG-21 is a single engine fighter and it is like a rocket. So the speed at which it climbs because of an engine, it is the same speed at which it descends because of a loss of an engine. You understanding what I'm saying?
Absolutely, sir.
So
yes.
when you lose engine, the rate at which it falls down is like it is acceleration due to gravity. Gravity takes over. Hardly it doesn't glide at all. It glides like 1:5, which is the worst glide for any jet. So if you lose an engine, you can't land with another engine because there is none. Most of the twin engine fighters have an redundant engine, so whenever they lose an engine, they just have to come and land with another engine. That's all. Secondly, when you lose an engine on a MiG-21, the time available to restart engine, regain your speed back to flying speed is again a big challenge. You understanding? So if you lose an engine below 6,000 feet on a MiG-21, I mean there is no point you attempting to start also. Even if you start, by the time the engine picks up, by the time it comes to its full power, by the time you get out of, get to a flying condition, you would have lost more than 6,000 feet. That means you would go into the ground.
Absolutely.
For sure. So the time available to restart the engine is also less. Now the third question: which engine doesn't quit? Even on a car, for some reason or the other, you can have, it's mechanical thing. You can have an engine failure. So that is why, and when you have a critical, when you have when you have an engine failure, and when you are in a phase of the flight where the margin of engine loss to aeroplane crashing is so less, and at that time, how do you extricate yourself? So these are design challenges that a single engine fighter always had, not only MiG-21. Take Thunder Chiefs, for example, Starfighters, for example, Sabres, for example. Sabres had a good, of course, glide ratio. MiG-15 had good glide ratio. Hunters, for example. All of them had their share of engine failure. I would say MiG-21 had probably the best record of engine serviceability. But whenever the engine quit in a MiG-21, you had to eject. There is no two ways about it. You didn't have another engine, or you didn't have the time available for you to start the engine which you lost it. It was also less. So that way, MiG-21 was a challenging aeroplane. It is still a challenging aeroplane. MiG-21, beyond a certain angle of attack, every MiG-21 behaved slightly differently. By the maneuver itself, I knew the tail number of a MiG-21. Or when I knew the tail number, I knew she is going to behave like this at so and so angle of attack. It's like a person. Not all your girlfriends behave the same way, isn't it?
Absolutely, sir.
That is how she behaved. But Miral 2000 was like, it behaved the similar manner throughout. Any aeroplane behaved a similar manner because computers, you are also part of the computer.
So now, sir, we'll start wrapping up a little. And so, sir, your call sign is Gusty.
No, my nickname is My nickname is Gusty. So it's maybe I have to throw some light. Now, what Best calls it as call sign, we call it as nickname. And nickname is very important. You guys are doing DCS, you guys realize nickname has to be nothing more than 2 syllables, and it has to be short and easily. It cannot be 1 syllable. If it is 3, it is difficult. So it's okay. 3 is fine, but 2 is desirable, so that you can be asked to do a certain thing by your wingman immediately. Now let's talk about call sign. Call sign is, you go to a new squadron. Now you get 2 call signs. One is your individual call sign, which is generally the number. When you are flying alone, which is very, very rarely you fly. When you fly alone, when you're doing an air test or when you're ferrying from A to B. Even for ferry, you're ferrying in a formation. Like you're going for major repairs or something. It's the time you fly alone. Otherwise, you are always flying together, isn't it? So then you have a formation call sign. So my formation call sign when I was a flight commander, was Rana. When I was the commanding officer, was Cocktail. But my first call sign was Reebok.
Which squadron, sir?
For Fourth Squadron, Uttar Light. So we had Fourth Squadron was all mountain goats and all the deer family. So the CEO was Uriel, and the flight commander was a black buck, and number 3 was Chinkara. इस तरह से. I was Roebuck actually, Roebuck. That was my first call sign. In fact, I introduced that call sign into that unit for the first time ever. Before me, nobody had that call sign. So a couple of my juniors were, when I was leaving for Miral 2000 to Battle Access, because Battle Access all axe-related call sign. So you had machete and those kind of things. So call sign can be different, but your nickname doesn't change. So wherever you go, if someone tells me Gusty reverse, so I will know he is telling me to reverse.
And
Yes.
was there any particular story involved to Gusty as well, sir?
Yes, there were 2 Augustines in my batch. Very rarely it happens, but it happened. And it happened with me thrice in my life. In my class also, I had 2 Augustines. In the Air Force also, when I came, there were 2 Augustines. In an Air Force station when I went, there were 2 Augustines, and the other Augustine was a meteorology officer. He was a Met officer. And I don't consume alcohol. At least not. I don't go to bar and stuff. And I used to get huge bar bill. I said I used to go to the mess office and ask 3,000 rupees bar bill. I've never had 3,000 rupees liquor in my life. I said, no, sir, look at this. You have taken so much. So 1 or 2 months, I left it. I said, पता नहीं किसने लिया होगा मेरे नाम पे, कोई बात नहीं, I'll find out. Later on, I came to know the other Augustine used to drink, and these people used to put it on my name. So there were 2 Augustines in my batch. So the other Augustine became Augie, and I became Gusty. And the name was given by one of my instructor, who is now no more, called Group Captain Rangabasha. And he gave me this name. So it sort of stuck on me.
All right, sir. That's quite an interesting story, sir. We'll start wrapping up now. You've been here for almost like 1.5 hours. So, sir, what does future hold for you, sir? What are you doing after retirement?
Oh, my hands are completely full. And drone is the area where I'm working currently.
Sir.
A lot of technology. So about this, I think we could do another session altogether.
Absolutely, we will, sir.
I feel Last of the Fighter Pilot is already born. So, yeah, that tomorrow belongs to drones, and we can talk about it. And that is when we talk about it, we'll talk about it.
Absolutely, sir. We will, sir. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will be behind you after this statement, but we will take that up separately.
We will talk
for sure,
about it. We will talk about it, and there is a lot of things in store for youngsters on that whenever we talk.
Right, sir. So let's. I think we have reached our time over target, sir. It's time that we pull up. And
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much,
for
sir.
having me over. Pleasure's all mine. And all the best to all of you. All the best to your our squadron. Yeah, let's one of these days fly together.
Absolutely, sir. We will, sir.
Albeit virtually.
Bye bye, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Bye bye.
So, Viper, how do you think it went?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, so did I.
But Charlie, there are a couple of abbreviations in there that might need some explaining for people who are not very familiar with the military aviation and aviation in general.
Yeah, I think sir mentioned a couple of terms in there like AFA, which stands for Air Force Academy, and he also mentioned MOF2, which stands for MIG Operational Fighter Training Unit.
Yes, Sir also mentioned ADF and NDB, which stand for Automatic Direction Finder and Non-Directional Beacon.
Yeah. All in all, I think we learned a lot from it, and hopefully our viewers will too. A big shout out also goes to Deb Rana Sir for providing us his beautiful picture MiG-21. This is Charlie and Viper signing off. We'll see you guys next time.